You're muted, Your Honor.
All right, let's try that. Any better?
Yes.
All right. So we're here for complex case management. I do have from the jail a requested order this in terms of locations, but I also want to address if we have any counsel. I know Mr. Masor alerted my office that he had a conflicting court appearance. Mr. Masor, can you hear me?
Yes, Judge. Good morning.
Greetings. And Mr. Masor, you have Mr. Joseph. He's got several cases. And Mr. Joseph is not in the first group. Actually, Officer Harrison, I don't see him.
Joseph?
Yeah, because the appearances are waived for the most part. These are all for the ones you've shown me for the rooms at the jail centers are for the 9:30 docket.
He is, yeah, these are the 9, that's
Okay.
the 9:30.
All right, so
we
we're
don't
not-
have anything on the 9 o'clock.
So not affected by that. So because appearances are waived for complex case management, so all the moving parts here. So Mr. Masor, opposing counsel is Mr. Fraser. Greetings.
Judge.
And these are case numbers 21 CF 234 and 293. By the way, on the 293 case, Ms. Fuentes and Madam Clerk, please have that designated. Well, let me ask the parties, do you want that also designated complex and track along or remain as standard?
Well, I'd rather have them tracked together, please.
That would probably be for the best, Your Honor.
All right, so both consistent then. Mr. Masor, you were recently appointed?
Yes, Judge, just last month. So today I'm just asking for an additional case management conference, please.
Do you have initial discovery?
Judge, I didn't realize this was on my calendar until last night, so I don't think so, but that might be my fault.
All right, so you are going to need obviously to have a additional case management since you're just appointed. Mr. Fraser, any comments from the state at this stage?
There's no objection to the request, Your Honor, with the defendant's waiver of speedy on this case.
Okay.
I can waive.
Both cases, Mr. Masor?
Yes, Judge.
All right. Do you need 30 or 60 days to be organized and have a meaningful discussion, Mr. Masor?
Probably only 30.
All right. Mr. Fraser, reset for case management in 30 days approximately?
Yes, Judge, there's no objection to that.
Any other state comments at this time?
Just for the lower case number, 21 CF 234, this is designated complex because this was part of a search warrant case. If Mr. Masur is looking to depose witnesses in the case, I would ask, I think there's about 10 or 11 co-defendants that all be worked out with co-defendant counsel.
So that is going to have to be factored in that there's a lot of coordination in the discovery.
Yes.
So I do represent one of the co-defendants in the case, Robert Arnold, and I had shot an email to Mr. Masor yesterday to try and start the beginning coordination of that. I believe that we would need about 60 days to get that set up.
So that was Mr. Barger speaking. Okay.
That's a better idea. I agree.
So it might, Mr. Fraser, any objection based on that coordination to set it out 60 days?
No objection, Your Honor. Speedy's been waived, and there's some significant coordination that needs to be done.
All right. Any other comments? If not, Ms. Fuentes, 2 cycles.
August 20th at 9 a.m.
All right. All set. Thank you.
Thank you.
Complex. Let me ask, I do want to address some of the folks in the audience that are here, but before I do that, is there any counsel that have another conflict that needs to be called over?
Your Honor, Abdul Khalil on behalf of Ms. Rosa Sanchez. I do have to be in Fort Myers this morning.
All right. And which Sanchez you said?
Yes.
All right, let me turn to that.
Page 16.
21 CF 264 currently listed as a standard track. Is it standard or complex?
Your Honor, I'll defer to Mr. Frazier on this one.
Your Honor, I think this is with the complex because there is a co-defendant with a trafficking case. This is another
Okay.
search case with multiple defendants.
Fine.
So-
We'll change the designation. Ms. Fuentes, you just make a note as to why. All right, Mr. Khalil.
Your Honor, I need more time to speak to Ms. Sanchez and Mr. Frazier about this case. If we can just have a continuance. This is the first time up.
Yes. Any objection?
No objection with a waiver.
With a waiver of speedy.
How many cycles out, Mr. Khalil?
One cycle should be enough, Your Honor.
Any other comments from either side?
None
If
from the state.
Ms. Fuentes?
July 16th at 9 a.m.
All right. Any others, Mr. Khalil?
No, Your Honor, that's it. Thank you.
Additional counsel that need to be called earlier for any reason? Anyone fall into that category? All right, let me ask the folks back. Or was there someone late speaking up?
Yes, I'm sorry. Angelique Augustin, Jovia Kavala firm on behalf of Kenneth Tenassi.
Remember, he or she who hesitates is lost. But there may be a delay in the transmission, so we'll give you a break on that, Ms. Augustin. All right, so Mr.
Right, thank
Tennessee-
you, Your Honor.
Yeah. Mr. Tennessee will be
He's-
called at this time.
And Your Honor, Brock Frazier for the state on this, covering for Miss Mason.
All right, this is a homicide charge.
Thank-
And we have had
Mr.
multiple case managements, but I believe competency was a factor as part of that.
Your Honor, Mr. Viacava was detained on May 26, and I do not see any discovery in our file. And Mr. Viacava's assistant told me we have not yet received discovery. I would not be surprised if competency is an issue. I don't have personal knowledge regarding that at this time.
There was
However,
recent,
when we represent,
there was a recent finding of competency by Dr. Collins, but obviously
okay, thank you.
that will need to be explored. Mr. Nagel is connected. He was counsel on this case. Mr. Nagel, based on the appearance of the private firm, should the public defender be withdrawn?
Yes, Judge, I was actually in the process of requesting them to do so. I'll ask that you issue it orally now. We will follow up with a motion in order to your office to do a written one to celebrate the ruling then, sir.
All right, so Mr. Nagel then will be withdrawing, Madam Clerk. It's a written order, but that is orally announced at this time. Mr. Viacava / Ms. Augustin are now counsel. Obviously, you need to become familiar with the case. Mr. Frazier, would it be I'm sorry, it's Ms. Mason, correct?
It is Ms. Mason, but I'm covering the appearance this morning, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe I'm asking the wrong attorney then, but I'm of the impression that given the magnitude of the charge, mental health issues, the substitution of counsel, that realistically, we will probably be looking to try this case in 2022. Is that a fair assumption or too early to make that?
I think it may be a bit early to say that, but that's probably accurate.
All right. What I'm thinking is, I think we need to go out at least 2 cycles for the Viacava firm to fully inform itself of all the circumstances, as well as to assess whether there's any lingering or new competency issue. There was a recent finding, I believe, that he was competent. Mr. Frazier, any objection to a August or September? I would probably, absent any competency issues, I'd probably be looking at that as the final case management and setting a pretrial trial cycle potentially in 2022. I would certainly hear from the defense counsel as far as how much time they need to be ready, but I do want to move it beyond case management.
Okay, just a couple of comments to that, Your Honor. The state has not received a notice of appearance or demand for discovery from the Via Cava firm. And as of right now, it's my understanding that the defendant is still at the state hospital. So I think at some point he was transported to the state hospital. Whether he's been found competent since then, it's my understanding he's just not back in this jurisdiction yet.
Judge, I don't mean to interrupt, but just because, again, I think I have more familiarity than Mr. Frazier does. He was never transferred to the state hospital.
He was never transferred to.
He was never transferred, no. And again, this is also for Mr. Villacava's firm's background information. He was Baker acted, and they issued an order to send him to the hospital. The hospital would not take him based on the charges without a determination as to competency. After that came through, it was my understanding then that the Baker Act materials had time expired, so they did not even bother. They were not going to transport him. He should still be at the Collier jail.
So, Mr. Tennessee at the Collier County Jail?
I spoke to, before he hired the new firm, Judge, I spoke with him at the jail between the last two court dates.
All right. Well, we'll continue to have it evolve, but at this point, Ms. Augustine, are you requesting August or September for the final case management?
We're requesting September, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection to that, Your Honor.
However, do be on notice, Ms. Augustine, that at that setting, I do not intend to order any further case managements. I will move it to a pretrial trial cycle. However, that, if necessary, could be in 2022, but I do wish to move it along. Now, I would ask—
I will let Mr.
I think it's going to be important if defense counsel believe that there is some type of competency issue which is still of concern. I would ask that you immediately address that and not wait for, obviously, the extended case management date.
Right. I understand, yes.
Any other comments from either side?
None from the
No,
state.
Your Honor.
Very well. Ms. Fuentes?
September 24th at 9 a.m.
All right. Any other counsel that has a time conflict before I call the folks in the audience?
I do, Your Honor. Linda Smith on behalf of Xana Besalou.
All right. Ms. Smith, which case?
Her name is Xana Besalou, case number 21CF362.
All right. With the letter B like boy, not V like Victor, right?
Correct.
All right, we located that now. 21CF362, Mr. Fraser for the state. First case management, defense comments?
Yes, Your Honor. I was appointed on May 25th. I attempted to download Discovery earlier this week. Apparently there was an issue with the Discovery portal with the state. I was unable to download them. I think the issue had been resolved yesterday afternoon, and I downloaded a bunch of stuff this morning. If I could get another case management conference in time to review the Discovery and talk with my client.
Speedy trial waived.
Speedy trial, waive for speedy trial.
Mr. Fraser, any objection to a 2-cycle continuance?
No objection, Your Honor. This is, again, another case where a search warrant was served. There are multiple defendants involved.
Were you aware of that, Ms. Smith, that there may be overlapping discovery?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, very, very well. Anything else? Ms. Fuentes?
Did we say 2 cycles? I'm sorry.
Yes, 2.
August 20th at 9 a.m.
All right, thank you.
Thank you,
let me
Your Honor.
ask you in the back, the lady and gentleman, are you together? Okay, it's your case, sir? Yeah, what's the name? Mr. Jordan, do you have a lawyer? All right, Mr. Jordan is, I'm going to call him next.
It's my case, Judge.
Please come up, Mr. Jordan, up to the table here. Thank you. Where do you want? Morning, Mr. Jordan. And Mr. Jordan is represented by Mr. Nagel, who is connected remotely, Mr. Jordan. And Mr. Nagel, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
21 CF 300 and 301. Mr. Frazier for the state. Defense comments?
Yes, Judge. This is the first time up on the case management docket. I'm going to ask that we set this for another case management a few months down the road. This is a case that I believe is going to be very complicated, has a lot of evidentiary issues that are coming into play. There's probably going to be at least one major motion to suppress, if not multiple issues addressed in said motion once I get through the discovery and getting the deposition set. I think at this point, if we continue this to an October case management, by then we can pick a realistic pretrial dates and go from there.
Is this a multi-defendant case?
No, Judge, this is not a multi-defendant case in terms of a search warrant. It's a completely different situation.
Is a speedy trial waived?
It is, Judge.
Ms. Manfort?
I'm told that both cases are hearing on July 21st and probable call on July 21st.
All right, so apparently we have some upcoming dates scheduled regarding Mr. Jordan. And
Well, there was a bond reduction motion set, Judge, on the 27th. I see that Mr. Jordan is out. I've already putting in a request to have that motion hearing canceled. It was set for, I believe, about an hour at the state's request.
Okay, so is that, so that's the state's motion?
No, the defense's motion to reduce bond, but the state had indicated they needed an extended hearing time, not a normal 10-minute one. So it got put on the calendar call for July for the hearing.
Okay, but is that necessary now, Mr.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm in the process of having them do paperwork to cancel that motion. He is out of custody at this point.
All right, so Madam Clerk, that will be canceled. This calendar call reference, what are you talking about there?
That was just when the motion was set. It was the hearing was set on the July 27th calendar call.
But there is no calendar call, obviously.
There is no calendar call. That was just the date for other cases calendar
All right.
call.
And yeah, the clerk will be instructed to cancel both of those July dates.
Yes, Judge.
And have you done a conflict check with Mr.
Yes, Judge. At this point, I have done the conflict check. As I said, we are a single individual being charged in this case. I don't see any issues with anybody else at this point.
And no issues in terms of being able to reach Mr. Jordan?
No, now that I said we were, yes,
Okay.
That's not going to be an issue.
Mr. Frazier, any preliminary comments?
There's no objection, Your Honor. Speedy's been waived, and we can set for the appropriate CMC date.
And based on what's involved in the preparation, counsel is requesting, was it September?
No, October, Judge. Based on scheduling issues with myself, the October case management would be the preferred date.
Will there be any unfair prejudice to the state from that time frame?
No, Your Honor, not if we're able to get all of the depositions and everything necessary done in that time to address whether or not a motion is appropriate and we can address trial.
And Mr. Jordan is in agreement with that time frame, Mr. Nagel, as far as you know?
Yes, Judge.
All right. Any other concerns for today?
For today, no. Anything else will be addressing through the court system as appropriate.
You do anticipate a possible motion to suppress. That's going to be determined after depositions are taken?
Yes, Judge. I've gotten some other additional discovery that I've gathered independent of the state's provisions, and based on that, I believe that there are going to be certain issues that are going to be arisen. I just want to get everything done in one motion as opposed to doing multiple motions.
Is there still outstanding FDLE or other discovery, Mr. Frazier?
I'll check that right now, Your Honor.
Well, I can tell the court that this is one of those cases that was affected by the cyberware attack that we had. The discovery has not repopulated in my cases. I put in a notice to have them try and put this to the front of the list in the next few days to get it to me. So I'm hoping by middle of next week, that'll be taken care of. And then anything that I picked up independent that we're going to use can be disclosed reciprocally to the state.
Any other comments from counsel?
We are still waiting on the lab results for the FDLE.
Okay. Mr. Jordan, any questions? Right, for your attorney, I'm gonna grant his request for the October case management. Okay, do we have, Ms. Fuentes, an October complex case management date?
We do not, Your Honor. It's September 24th or December 3rd.
No, that's December too late.
Can
September
we use,
24th.
I was going to say, could we use the October normal one just for this one time and go from there? I don't think we really need the complex cycle case management docket to address the matter.
Mr. Fraser, is that a schedule problem for you?
I would prefer not to move from the complex to the standard back to complex, and September 24th is October adjacent.
All right, that's fine. That's fine then, Judge.
All right. Then Ms. Fuentes?
September 24th at 9 a.m.
And are you waiving Mr. Jordan's appearance, Mr. Nagel?
Yes, for future court dates that he does not need to be at while he's out of custody, certainly, Judge. I don't
Mr. Jordan, you're always
have to make
welcome, but if
extra
it's a hardship, he can
years.
appear on your behalf. Just make sure you stay in touch with counsel. All right, thank you for being here. Please wait a moment in the audience for the notice. All right, I do notice there were some other folks here for both counsel as well as folks in the audience. Let me ask the gentleman up here in the white, right behind Mr. Jordan. Yes, sir. What's the last name? Solis. All right, Mr. Solis. All right. Let me locate Mr. Who is counsel for Mr. Solis? All right, Mr. Solis, you don't have a lawyer at this time? All right, yes, it does show that. Mr. Solis, can you afford to hire a lawyer?
Yeah.
Okay. This is the first case management. Would you like to see if you qualify for the public defender, or are you confident you have the ability to hire a private lawyer?
I was probably gonna say and get a public defender and then later on in the case hire
You can always substitute. The question will be whether you qualify for the public defender. Are you currently employed and have a regular income? Okay, Mr. Nagel, did we lose him? I think so. All right. Do you want to go down and apply right now and see if you qualify for the public defender? It's right here on the first floor at customer service. Is that correct, Madam Clerk? If you want to go there, apply and come right back, we'll see if you qualify. All right, we'll call you back. And,
Your Honor, this is Steve Burgos. Could I jump in for a moment?
yes, go ahead.
I thought this was going to go quicker than it was, Judge. I have an appointment at 10:15. I'm in my home and I have an appointment at 10:15 in my office. I only have one case.
Are you saying the court is too slow, Mr. Grigoza?
I'm saying, no, Judge, I'm saying justice is slow.
But thorough.
Right, exactly, sometimes.
All right. So,
Your Honor,
which
I'm
case-
David Chapa.
Mr. Chapo. Any relation to the gentleman from Mexico by the same name?
Well, I'm not getting paid that way, so I wouldn't think so.
Okay, all right.
So it's 21 CF 658, Judge.
Actually, it's Daniel Chapa with an A at the end, not an O.
Okay.
21 CF 658, Mr. Grigoza for the defense, Mr. Frazier for the state. First case management, go ahead.
All right. Your Honor, I just got the discovery. This does not look very complicated to me. It's basically a search warrant and a motion to suppress. So I'm asking this be taken off the complex case management, put on the standard docket, and just continued for one more case management on August 19th. I have another case that's set that date at 1:30.
State's response?
Your Honor, this is part of the specialized kind of docket that I deal with high intensity drug trafficking. So we put these on the complex cycle in order to consolidate the cases together. So the state would ask that it remain on this docket. Otherwise, there's no objection to a continuance for CMC with a waiver. This is
Mr. Grigoza, is there any unfair prejudice from staying on this docket versus the other one?
Yes, Judge. Well, first, I have another case there, so I would like to keep my cases together. The other reason is that just because this is a search warrant does not make this a complicated case. There's only a few people involved in this case. And I don't want to have to wait for everybody else to do the depositions because I'm ready to get going right now. Matter of fact, I'm going to start sending out my notices for depositions today. And I'd just like to get this case moving along. Now, if there really was a complicated case with a lot of issues and a lot of witnesses, that's different. But this is not that kind of a case.
How will discovery be conducted, and will there be some unnecessary duplication of efforts if they're not coordinated with the co-defendant's case?
No, Judge, because first of all, I don't know what anybody else is going to do. And to me, the issue is the affidavit for the search warrant. I think there's a couple issues there. So I don't know what anybody else is going to do. And for me to have to run after everybody when I'm ready to do this now, I don't think it's fair to the defense to have to sit and wait on this.
Mr. Frazier, is there anything of unfair prejudice to the state if it returns to the regularly assigned docket?
Well, given the particular request that Mr. Gregoza just articulated, it's almost as if he'd like to sever his defendant from, or his client from the co-defendants, which would duplicate the state's efforts and duplicate the issues that have to be litigated, duplicate the need for depositions. So there would be prejudice for the state in that regard.
So what about the case makes it complex, Mr. Frazier?
It's the nature of this particular prosecution docket, the high intensity drug trafficking and interdiction. And this case was pursued under law enforcement through that effort. And that's traditionally, these cases are placed on the complex case management to keep them together. There's no issue with placing them on a standard trial cycle, but for docket management and case management and consolidation of state and law enforcement effort, those cases are consolidated to this particular complex docket.
All right, having heard this, my preliminary reactions, subject to being revised later, is that I'm not going to buck tradition and remove it at this point. However, Mr. Gregoza, if you feel that it does impact the substantial rights of Mr. Chapa, you can file a written motion, and I would then reconsider that preliminary decision that we're making here today.
All right. Judge, I'd just like to advise the court, there's only a couple of defendants, three defendants, I think, in this case.
Right. And, I understand there's a debate here, but before I go against the tradition, I would need to have a written motion hearing where I could more thoroughly address it in a better setting than this one.
All right. That's fine.
So I will assign you, how many cycles you want to go out, Mr. Gregoza?
Why don't we say 2? I should have basically, well, I don't, why don't we say 2, Judge?
All right.
2
And
cycles.
is speedy trial waived or not?
Yeah. I'll waive speedy trials. This is going to be a motion to suppress. It's either we win on that or we don't win at all.
Is it better for the defense to go out 3 as opposed to 2 cycles?
Yeah, 3 would be better, Judge. I'll have it all done by then.
Any objection, Mr. Frazier?
No objection.
Granted. Ms. Fuentes, on the complex case management, 3 cycles out, please.
September 24th at 9 a.m.
All right. Thank you, Judge.
Very good.
Pardon me,
Go ahead, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate you taking me out of order. I have a 10 o'clock live hearing. I just have one case, Mr. David Redding.
All right, 1 moment. Any relation to Otis?
No, but you actually asked him that at the motion to suppress, Judge.
That's right, he did say, I thought he said he was.
I was going to say, let me correct the record. I think he did say some kind of distant relation. He didn't clarify. I'll get that info from him, Judge.
Right, he did say it was related.
He did. Actually, you're right.
F3-4, for those of you not of that age group, famous singer, tragically died, Lake Monona in Madison, the capital of Wisconsin, where I hail from. Big story there when it happened. That aside, we go back to Mr. Brown. Go ahead.
Thank you, Judge. Well, this is Mr. Reddy's newer case, the 2018 case that we already argued a motion on. We have continuing arguments on that in July. So this case, to be honest with you, I haven't done a lot on it yet. I've been kind of focused on the other one. I would ask for the late September date. If Mr. Redding prevails in the motion on the other case, he may be able to get back out on bond. But in the meantime, he's in custody, so I may have to move for indigency to get depots set in this one. And this one is
to track with the other one or separate? Well, I guess Mr. Frazier, you would try to track this separately. Is that right?
No, Your Honor, they're fine tracking together. I think that the consensus on the other case is going to be that it's the outcome of the motion to suppress is determinative of where that case goes.
Are they
This
both
current
complex?
case-
No, Judge. Actually, I do agree with Mr. Frazier. The motion to suppress is the sole issue in the 18 case. It was an actual possession, but that case is set on a pretrial July 28th. So I wouldn't want to set this case on a pretrial for obvious reasons. I haven't done depositions or anything yet. This case is 3 months old. So I think we should keep them separate. Depending on the court's ruling on the motion, the other case will resolve, and then, this one will be the focus.
You're
So
okay
I'd
with
ask-
keeping them separate, Mr. Frazier?
That's fine, Your Honor.
All right. When do you wish to return, Mr. Brown, on this one?
To make it a meaningful case management, I'd ask for that late September date. I believe it's 28th.
Okay. And speedy trial waived?
We would waive. And I'm
Any
waiving his
other-
appearance. I'm also
any other-
waiving his appearance.
Any other initial comments from either side?
No, sir.
Just from the state that there is preliminary FDLE lab results, but there is supplemental results that are going to come through discovery. So that should be done by the time we get to that next case management.
Speedy trial has been waived. No objection to the September case management.
No objection.
Ms. Fuentes?
September 24th at 9 a.m.
Any others,
Very
Mr.
good.
Brown?
No, sir. Thank you for taking me out of order. Have a good day, sir.
Let me ask the gentleman over here. I think he's been waiting a long time. Come on, sir. Repeat the date and time, please, Ms. Fuentes.
September 24th at 9 a.m.
Okay, good morning, sir. What is the last name? Mr. Silva, please be seated. Okay. All right, he was early then. All right. All right, so let me just finish the case management. We'll call you in just a few moments. I thought you were part of the case management.
Thank you.
All right. There was, I think, there's some other folks here that were here. Are they here for?
They might be all here they came in late, so they might be here.
In the audience, anyone else here for case management as opposed to pleas? Anyone else in that category? All right, let me then, any counsel that are more urgently in need of being called, Mr. Hollander, for case management?
I have one case that I have a permit surrendering today.
Okay,
The case management, I'm here for Crystal Lee Bartrip, 21 CF 365.
what's the last name?
Bartrip, A-R-T-R-I-P.
All right, one moment.
Page 5, Your Honor.
There we go. Yes, and Mr. Frazier for the state. Go ahead, Mr. Hollander. So Mr. Hollander has indicated he would like to set the matter for a pretrial trial cycle. It is a first case management, which is a bit unusual.
I understand this is one of those, move out of that house. You got a house with 12 to 17 people in it. I still don't have a lab report. But ready for trial.
Okay, Mr. Frazier, is speedy trial waived or not?
I don't know, man. I don't think so. It's the first case.
Right, so I'm asking you, Mr. Hollander.
If it's waived, Judge, it's only by order of the Supreme Court.
No, you're not waiving it at this time, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so Mr. Frazier, he's not waiving speedy trial at this time. It has not been waived previously. It's the first case management. Defense is asking to set a pretrial trial cycle. What is the state's response?
That's fine, Your Honor. I'm looking at my witness availability now. So depending on what the appropriate trial cycle is,
Also, what would be the length of trial?
No more than 2 days.
2 to 3 days, Mr. Frazier?
I would agree with that.
So we should be able to accommodate that on any complex weekend during the calendar year. I guess it depends on the state's witness availability. The defense would prefer the sooner rather than later. Okay. Mr. Frazier, what's the soonest that the state would have witness availability?
What is the court's trial cycle in July?
Ms. Fuentes?
We don't have one for July. Pre-trial would be July 13th, trial cycle August 23rd.
How many days available in August, Madam, Ms. Fuentes?
5 days.
So we have enough days there in August. That's acceptable to the defense?
The end of August, yes.
Yeah. What was the starting trial date for that, Ms. Fuentes?
August 23rd through August 27th.
Defense is okay with that?
That works for the state, Your Honor. We have witness availability for that time.
Ms. Fuentes, the clerk indicates, maybe we're not working off the same sheet of music, but because there have been some revisions, but she indicates that's been crossed off. Can you clarify?
As of this morning, Melissa said we can set trials on the complex trial cycles.
Do I need to go to the Supreme Gatekeeper for clarification? Let's make sure we have that right before I set off in motion regrettable events. And I got all these phones, but nothing works. Can we get a workable phone, please? This is one of the problems with moving from courtroom to courtroom. I've got all this clutter up here that I would never use. Thank you. Not the clerk's fault. I'm dispensing. It'll be good to be back home starting the 21st in 2
Yes,
days.
it will. It'll be real nice.
Are you also texting Melissa at this time?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. All right, the convergence of bad events here. We can't reach the gatekeeper. But Ms. Fuentes, you did say that you had confirmed as of this morning that that revision does result in that trial week?
Correct. She said we can start setting trials.
Yeah, I think what may have happened is it because of the reopening by the Supreme Court that was now we're back to the previous schedule that had been crossed off?
I assume so, but yeah, as of this morning, the email says that we can set trials on the complex trial cycles.
All right, but there was no change to that week, is that right?
Not that I'm aware of, correct.
All right, there's a lot of pressure, a lot riding on this. Okay. So anyway, no, we can cure it if there's a problem. But I'm going to go with the information that week is available and the state's indicating availability. No witness issues, Mr. Frazier?
Not for the trial period 8/23 through 27.
All right, so ordered. What are the corresponding dates?
Pre-trial July 13th at 10:30. Calendar call August 17th at 8:30. Trial cycle August 23rd at 9 a.m.
Better be right, Ms. Fuentes. All right, that's the best we can do, I guess. All right, thank you. Let's continue with the case management before the pleas. Anyone else that has a time constraint on the case management, any counsel that they need to address on case management? All right. In order then, Mr. Agoza actually had a second case. I don't know if we addressed it. Violeta Acevedo Cazares. That's with Mr. Miller is co-counsel on that. And
Yes.
there's Mr. Miller.
Yes, Your Honor. I thought I submitted a substitution of counsel with Mr. Goza.
You're listed.
Okay.
So this is Acevedo Cazares, 21 CF 373, 612, and 668. The 668 case is listed as standard. Should that be converted to complex?
Your Honor, if I may, Mr. Frazier and I have been in negotiations and actually working towards getting a plea to probation on these three cases. So I don't know if we need to move anything. I would respectfully just ask for the next case management. I believe Mr. Frazier and I are going to get something done within the next week.
Mr. Frazier, you agree?
I would agree with that, Your Honor. This is set here because this is one of those search warrant co-defendant cases.
Okay. So how many cycles out, Mr. Miller?
Judge, no more than one. Like I believe we'll be asking the court to set this for a plea date relatively soon.
All right, so all cases will remain as set with their designations and combined for the next case management date, Ms. Fuentes?
July 16th at 9 a.m.
The parties can coordinate among each other and with the court to advance that on the calendar if you have a plea agreement.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Next, Mr. Hopkins for the defense, Ms. Marzano for the state, James Allen, 20 CF 404.
Your Honor, good morning.
Ratings.
Your Honor, in this case, we're anticipating, this is the 5th case management conference. So we understand the age. The defense is not ready, but I do anticipate in speaking with Mr. Berry that the court would likely be setting a trial date, a pretrial trial date. We're requesting, if the court is inclined to do that, November. I will tell you what we have going on would be multiple depositions on July 15th, depositions on July 30th, and then it looks like a state toxicologist, as well as an additional witness that we're trying to get scheduled based on their scheduling. My anticipation that will, to be optimistic, maybe July, but it'll probably be August. So I'm requesting a pretrial conference, preferably after August. And that would seem to put us likely into November. The only reason
I understand this is a vessel homicide case, which does have some additional complexities. Ms. Marzano, state's perspective. But we will need you to unmute, please.
Also, the state has filed a Daubert motion, which is currently set with Your Honor on July 29th. So I know it is an older case, but I am thinking that perhaps it would be best to just do one last case management before setting it for trial. That, you know, because that's, I already have, let's see, no, I don't have a case set for trial yet in November. If you want to set it in November, that's fine.
Will the state have, to your knowledge at this point, witness availability in November?
No, I don't have that yet. But we can address it at pretrial conference if you want to set it in November, and then by then I will have some idea.
When would the state and the defense be in the best position to assess when would be the proper time? What?
I didn't mean to talk over you. I have no objection. The defense has no objection to the state's request. So going to the court's question and looking at the calendar, the other option would be August 20th. So I think truly the parties probably would be August 20th, which would be a complex case management conference, because by that time we'll have had the state's motion in limine been litigated. The deposition should have taken place. We should have likely the toxicologist to have been deposed or at least set, so we can look to see the trial date. I just recognize, you know, the age. That was the only reason that I had suggested, you know, a potential realistic date.
All right, so I do understand that there are substantial matters still to be addressed pre-trial based on, excuse me? All right, is there a motion here in July 29th?
Yes, that's my Daubert motion that I mentioned, Your Honor. I mean, so the thing is, it's not, we're saying we're going to schedule. All of these things have actually been scheduled. Mr. Hopkins and Mr. Berry have the depositions already set on our calendars. The motion is already set on Your Honor's docket. So it's not that things are just going to be done in the future. We're in the process of finishing them.
Will the state be in a position to definitively clarify when the trial date should be at a final case management August?
Yes, we certainly should be, Your Honor. And then I guess we'll also know what the trial periods are coming up.
Very well.
And I would say November, December, or January would be possible trial date.
I think we can then address this at a final case management August. Ms. Fuentes, if you note the various reasons that preparation related. So August date, please.
August 20th at 9 a.m.
Very well. Next is Robert Arnold, 21 CF 298. Mr. Bard and Mr. Frazier.
Yes, Your Honor. Justin Barger on behalf of Robert Arnold. We are in the process of getting depositions set with all the co-defendants. We would ask to put this 2 cycles out to another case management. We will go ahead and waive speedy trial.
Any objection?
No objection.
Any additional state comments?
No, Your Honor.
approved.
Your Honor, I do have a 10 o'clock and I have one more case on the docket, Mr. James Hearns.
Yeah, we just need to finish on Arnold with the date.
August 20th at 9 a.m.
Very well. And what's the other case you have, Mr. Barger?
Mr. Hearns?
All right, also case management?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead.
We are in the process of reviewing discovery in this matter, Your Honor, and trying to get an offer from the state. What we would ask to do is place this out.
That's also a first case management.
2 cycles, please.
Okay. Any objection?
No objection with a waiver, Your Honor. What I'd like to do, if we can, is put this on the same case management date as Mr. Redding. There is some overlap in the discovery and some of the witnesses that are involved in that case.
And when was that set?
Case management for September 24th. I don't know if that's too far out for Mr. Barger's purpose.
No objection, Your Honor. That'd be fine.
That date is approved. Date and time again?
September 24th at 9 a.m.
Next is Alan Beasley, 21 CF 239, Mr. Verderamo, Mr. Frazier, first case management.
Court. Last name Orang.
Go ahead. Zap them. Go ahead.
Judge, I have discovery on the case that received that illegal calls across the court and cost them a deposition on the case. There are no competency issues. I do have a score sheet. Do not have a plea offer yet. Request another case management competency later.
Thank you for that comprehensive rapid fire report. Mr. Frazier, anything you want to add?
I think I got most of that, Your Honor. Was the request for another case management with a waiver of speedy, and I'll work on getting Mr. Verderamo an offer.
All of the above is true.
All right.
Is the date requested? He's deferring on the next case management day. Mr. Fraser, any suggestion? It's, by the way, it's designated standard track. That should be changed.
That's fine. Standards are.
Well, if we're going to have it true to form and stay on this particular docket, I think we should change it.
Okay, that's fine.
Change. Any suggestion, Mr. Fraser?
The August date. I think I heard an August date.
The next available CMC, I think I can get that offer out, and if necessary, we can look at setting depositions or address it appropriately by then.
So he's suggesting July, is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection.
Ms. Fuentes?
July 16th at 9 a.m.
Next is Mr. Fayette and Mr. Frazier, Mark Boileau, 20 CF 957, as well as 1064.
Good morning, Judge.
Ratings, comments?
Judge, I don't know if you had a chance to look at it. Came in, I think it was the 1st of this month, the second evaluation.
Competent is the recommendation.
Yes.
Do you wish to have any additional evaluations or set a competency hearing?
No, sir.
Does the state wish anything in that regard?
Just in terms of procedural issues, because we are set for a competency status today, the state would not object to the court reviewing and relying on the expert reports and treating this as the competency hearing if that's what defense counsel is seeking to do.
After reading the reports, Judge, I have no objection to that.
All right. The court will make a preliminary oral finding of competency. However, I will review the reports and confirm that with a written order to follow. Ms. Fuentes, if you could alert Melissa to that to be done. Yes. And in a preliminary finding of competency that I am going to do a written order to follow. Any comments as far as further scheduling?
So, Judge, everything was somewhat on hold until we got that second evaluation. So I guess I'm going to start setting depositions. I sent an email to Mr. Frazier today that we're going to sit down and talk about a possible resolution.
What I'd like to do, obviously this case has been affected by mental health issues, is set a final case management, a sufficient sufficient amount of time in the future that will enable us from there to plan for a trial cycle. I'm willing to set this in either August or September for final case management. There's been a waiver of speedy trial. Any objections?
Yeah, Judge, I think the September date would work.
Mr. Fraser?
No objection to that September date.
All right, approved. Ms. Fuentes?
September 24th at 9 a.m.
We'll see you then. Have a good day.
Very well. Crystal Douglas, 21 CF 364, Mr. Clark and Mr. Frazier, first case management.
This Douglas was one of a number of defendants that we talked about that actually some court order was signed and double checked yesterday. Fortunately, it wasn't apologize that it wasn't yesterday.
Okay.
So we asked for the next case management conference or maybe a sooner one.
Is speedy trial waived? Speedy trial is waived. You are conflicting off. We'll need to appoint private court appointed counsel.
Yes, Judge. If it's like this, it's a conflict problem.
Mr. Fraser, any objection with the waiver to the July case management?
There's no objection to that request.
So ordered. Ms. Fuentes?
July 16th at 9 a.m.
Alan Dubberly, Ms. Adams for the defense, Mr. Frazier for the state, 21 CF 368.
Morning, Your Honor.
Ratings? Comments?
Yes, Your Honor. Last Thursday, I sent over a notice of conflict, the motion as well as an order to Melissa. I do have a conflict in this case. I have spoken to Mr. W twice. I've informed him of this and that new counsel will be appointed to his case.
Is speedy trial waived?
I have no objection to waiving speedy trial, Your Honor.
And to reset for July case management for new counsel to be appointed. Any comments or objections, Mr. Frazier?
No objection.
Approved. Ms. Fuentes?
July 16th at 9 a.m.
All right, getting near the end of the case management. Moving up to Lynn Keller, Mr. Barrier, Mr. Hopkins, Ms. Horowitz for the state, 21 CF 533.
Jessica Horowitz for the state, Your Honor.
First case management, comments?
Your Honor, Mike Hopkins for Ms. Keller. We have received discovery. We received that on May 24th, as well as the score sheet. Due to the volume of the discovery, we're requesting a continuance to another case management. I would request 2 cycles to August 20th at 9 a.m. just due to the volume and having to, go through that. That would be with a waiver of speedy trial.
Or it will make a complex track designation. Any objection to the requested Davis?
No objection, Your Honor, with the waiver.
Yes, it has been waived. Any other comments from either
No, Your
side?
Honor.
Approved, Ms. Fuentes?
Your Honor.
August 20th at 9 a.m.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Next is Jason Ortiz, Mr. Doherty for the defense, Ms. Marzano for the state, 21 CF 418, first case managed.
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
Ratings? Who wishes to lead off?
Well, I can, Your Honor. I believe this is our first case management. I know we've been before the court on this case just briefly on a couple other motions before. We need to continue the case management. We haven't set any depots. Yeah, we haven't set any depots or really begun the discovery process. There was a lot of discovery that's been turned over to Mr. Doherty, and I would recommend that we go out maybe 3 cycles because I think we're going to need at least that much time to get going.
Okay, Mr. Doherty?
I totally agree. There is more discovery that came in during the time the portal was down. I haven't gotten a chance to download that, so it is new. It is fairly complex. It is a second-degree murder case. I think a September case management would be good.
All right, a rare moment of total agreement on the case.
Yeah.
So we'll take advantage of that and set it as totally agreed in September. Ms. Fuentes?
September 24th at 9 a.m.
All right. The only question I have at this time, Your Honor, is I know that Speedy is not currently, it's told, but I would ask whether Mr. Doherty is going to waive.
Yes, so waived. Speedy trial for Mr. Ortiz.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
are set. Fred Schnorbush, Mr. Fraser, Mr. Schnorbush present.
You hear me?
Doesn't cite any counsel. Oh, one moment. We do have a bonds person, I believe, monitoring. Hello? Let me have you unmute, please.
There you go. Can you hear me?
Yes, who is speaking, please?
All right. My name is Aldani Houston. I have Fred on my cell phone. He had trouble getting into Zoom. Like he
So-
can hear you.
Mr. Schnorbush was unable to be in court, but you say as his bonds person that he is connected on the telephone with you, is that correct?
Correct, sir.
And what was his difficulty in getting to court today?
No, he's on Zoom. I found out he was on Zoom.
Oh, he doesn't have Zoom
Right.
capability? All right. I don't think I'm going to be able to hear him through this connection, but does he need to have a lawyer appointed in his case?
You hear him? You hear him?
Yes, sir.
He said yes. He said yes, sir.
So what I'm going to, Mr. Fraser, I'll hear your comments, but at this point, Mr. Schnorbush, are you able to make it down to the courthouse to apply for the public defender today?
Absolutely not. I have no way of getting there.
He said absolutely not. He has no way of getting there.
So he will need to apply for the public defender. So I will give him a continuance in order to do that. This is the first case management. Mr. Fraser, any comments?
Yes, Your Honor. Because Mr. Schnorbush is unrepresented right now, I would ask for the next case management to make sure that he's able to apply for the public defender or retain counsel. Otherwise, he is a co-defendant on a case that was set for the September 24th case management, which I would like to keep those together. That's the one that's with Mr. Gregoza. But
And when is the other case set?
the other case is set for the September 24th case management. But because Mr. Schnorbush is
Right.
unrepresented, I'm hesitant to put the pressure on to waive speedy today before he's
Right.
able to talk to an attorney. So
Understand. So at this point, if the bonds person could just convey to him that I'm going to give him a continuance in order to apply for the public defender, which he's indicated he wishes to do. Ms. Fuentes, what is the July complex case management date?
July 16th at 9 a.m.
I will require Mr. Schnorbush to be present in person on that date, unless he has an attorney that files a notice of appearance in advance with a waiver of his appearance.
Okay. July 16 at what time?
9 a.m.
And Mr. Schnorbush could have counsel apply for the public defender prior to that date, and he needs to be here in court in person unless counsel files a notice of appearance and waives his appearance. So, Mr. Schnorbush, that gives you an opportunity to have counsel prepared. All right?
Have any questions?
Thank you. Mr. Solis, if you could return, please, Madam Clerk, that he qualify for the public defender. And
What you said?
okay, they told you you qualify. Let me see if I can get a copy of your application, Mr. Solis. They're horribly conflicted. Did you do 2 applications? Okay, that's curious. I've seen stranger things. I'll break the tie. How about that? All right, one moment. Let's take a look at the application. And looks like Mr. Solis is the last of the case management for those patiently waiting for the pleas. All right. So, Mr. Solis, please raise your right hand and be sworn by the clerk. Thank you. Mr. Solis, Do you have any dependents or is it just you? All right. And you're reporting take-home income of 700 per week, is that correct? And how steady is that level of income? What's the nature of the work you do? Okay, so does this income level, how long have you had this income for? So just for a month. Have you been unemployed before that?
Yeah.
Okay, you don't have any bank accounts, property, vehicles, motorcycles, boats, nothing? Okay. Are you renting at this time?
Well, I definitely say, yeah.
So or do you live with, you what? With others, you live in a rented property? How much is your rent payment a month? 500? Now, what do you expect? How steady is this work? Do you expect this 700 a week take home is going to continue or fluctuate? So pretty steady? Well, you are about 200 a week over the limit in what you're making. Right. What we'll do, I mean, you're in that zone where you're kind of close, but you know, you're still over by a substantial amount. However, I understand it's not easy to put down a retainer for a private lawyer. So let's do this. And Mr. Frazier, you're for the state on this one. I'm gonna continue this to the next case management in July and have Mr. Solis attempt to hire private counsel. I will ask you to come back in person on that date unless you hire counsel that files a notice and waives your appearance. Otherwise, you need to be here. If you have trouble hiring counsel because of your financial situation, I will reconsider my decision today because you're in that zone that's kind of a judgment call. So let's see what happens when you try to hire someone first. Any objection, Mr. Frazier, until August? Are you asking for a waiver, Mr. Frazier?
No, Your Honor, I'm fine with him not waiving today, giving him an opportunity to retain counsel. He does have co-defendant 21 CF 264, who was set for case management on July 16th.
Okay, well, you're willing to keep them separate based on the circumstances?
Yes, Your Honor, that's
so
fine.
We'll give you until August. That'll give you plenty of time to see if you can hire a private lawyer or not. If you can't, we'll come back and I may still appoint the public defender if no changes and it becomes hard to do it. Yeah, so Ms. Fuentes, we're going to go to August. What's the date and time?
August 20th at 9 a.m.
So you'll need to be here unless you actually have a lawyer who's hired, filed a notice, and waived your appearance. Any questions? Okay, very good. Thank you. Have a good day. All right, that completes mercifully the case management docket. Only 45 minutes late, sorry about that, but it was in-depth discussions. We do have one returning for simple imposition of sentence. Is that correct, Mr. Hollander?
Correct.
That's Mr. Bastes. If we can call him forward. All right. Mr. Ashby, are you connected? All right. Let me then, I'm sorry, Mr. Bastes, we'll just wait for the prosecutor to arrive. Is there a continuance or something of that nature? Yes. All right, which one, Mr. Clark?
So it's Carrie Belcher from the CF.
Very well. Ms. Belcher appearing. Hello, Ms. Belcher. Doesn't look like she's feeling too well, Mr. Clark.
Oh, good.
All right.
She actually had a couple of issues, though, with family members that have been in hospitals the last couple of days, and I received calls from them confirming that there are some items that we need to get straight before she actually gets all that.
That's fine. I understand.
So if we could move it, consulting
Let just confirm that? And Ms. Belcher thinks she'll be okay by then?
Yeah, so not just personal.
Yes, I understand. No problem. Inspector is unusually unavailable this morning. I'll have to.
I just texted her, Your Honor.
All right, I'll be reducing her pay accordingly. Just kidding. All right, so Madam Clerk, what do you show as far as the plea date?
We have 6/17, 6/25,
So the July 16 date, is that when the parties were looking toward?
Yes, at 9:30 p.m. Yes.
All right. Do you know how many cases are already set there? All right.
It's currently showing 7.
Yeah, that's fine. We can add Ms. Belcher there. And we'll just wait just a moment for your paperwork and we'll address that.
Thank you very much.
All right. And Ms. Wilson, we are waiting for Mr. Ashby, is that correct? All right. All right.
I apologize. I'm now.
Oh, you have, okay.
Conditions of the plea have already been.
Is there any reason Mr. Ashby's not present? We're actually behind schedule here this morning. Because Mr. Hollander does need to be elsewhere. There's Mr. Ashby. Mr. Ashby, Mr. Hollander has got a time conflict and Mr. Baskis is present. Can we call that now?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Baskis, please come up. Thank you. Thank you for coming back as promised, Mr. Baskis. You can have it be up here next to Mr. Hollander. Thank you. All right. Counsel, this was a plea agreement previously.
Correct.
And
I'm sorry.
and Madam Clerk, do you need the terms to be restated? All right, let's restate them just to be clear.
Yes, Your Honor. It was an adjudication of guilt, 24 months Department of Corrections, right? Credit for all time served, followed by 3 years of probation, $500 fine, 12 months driver's license revocation, 50 hours from the server, DUI school appropriate days, 10-day vehicle impound, victim impact panel, no alcohol provision, substance abuse evaluation, follow recommendations for testing, 6 months condition interlock, restitution would be ordered and reserved to Connie Team Scooter Gates for cost and cost of profit.
Was there going to be a restitution order prepared?
Your Honor, we're going to be setting a restitution date. Still so that it be.
Okay, so ordered and reserved. Mr. Hollander, any clarifications?
The only thing is I think the credit time served since the plea.
Thank you.
2 days.
All right. Does the clerk need anything repeated? Anything need to be repeated?
The last name to the victim of the restitution plea, that's Connie, and then the.
It's going to be Scooter Yates, SPUJERYATES. Judge, there was also the opportunity to apply for early termination, 18 months, assuming no violation.
So may petition Madam Clerk for early termination at 18 months, successful completion of conditions.
My client, accordingly, he has completed the DUI.
Thank you for doing that in advance.
Sure.
And did we address business purpose or hardship license?
He already has his hardship.
Okay, very good.
I had it, sir. Can I speak?
Yes.
I had it, and in some confusion, we were supposed to consolidate the traffic ticket with the DUI, and they were not consolidated, so I had it for several months, but then they got revoked.
Any objection if the court notes on the judgment and sentence that it authorizes a business purpose or hardship license?
If he so qualifies from the Department of Motor Vehicles, however, based on the police today, his license will be revoked.
Right, so there's still a DMV process, but I'll note that if the court would authorize it, if that will be of assistance.
Thank you.
And was it helpful to have the time to report back to get everything in order, Mr.
Yes, it
Baskey?
was, sir. I wish it was a little bit longer, but.
Well, I did
I made it
offer,
happen.
if you recall, I did offer to extend it out a little bit last time. All right, all right.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you for showing up. Madam Clerk, anything else you need clarified?
system charges plus years for adjudication, 24-month DOC, all test centers, there's no amount.
2 days.
Followed by 3 years state probation, and then the usual terms that goes for management.
Right, and may petition for early termination 18 months with successful completion of petition. Or restitutions ordered and reserved. All other terms and monetary amounts as announced.
I do want to use this score sheet, Your Honor.
All right.
Trying to fit from the last time.
Let me go ahead and note that.
This is new one.
All right, I'll go ahead and accept that.
The only, I would ask that the state provide me with restitution bills or whatever, if there's no challenge to it.
All right, so obviously we'll set a hearing if and when it's necessary. The state will share the information.
Yes, Your Honor. As a last date, she's still honoring her bills.
Anything else? Thank you, Mr. Bassis. Please go into custody at this time.
Can I get one along?
Yeah, Officer Harrison, if you can just let him get what he needs. Oh. I'll take a 10-minute recess before we continue on. Thank you for your patience.
All right, we're going to reset. 10 minutes.
NJC, we're getting things moving along on the 939.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. What do you have? 1 or 2? We got a couple over there. Peter, your pens look good. Your pens look good. Yeah. Trying to keep up here, guys.
I eat lunch at 1 o'clock.
Huh?
I eat lunch at 1 o'clock.
Not today, you go.
No, not at 11:01.
Not today, you know.
Yeah, we're going. We got people come in.
Get some rovers in here.
You better get some rovers. You need 2 rovers. We eat lunch at 11. Look at this. We don't change numbers yet.
Want a snack? Want a snack? Want one? No.
I just need a rover at 11 o'clock. I need a rover. I need a rover here at 11 o'clock.
You are okay? Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Are you okay today?
10-minute break.
I just need quiet compared to people, that's all. I just need quiet compared to them.
No, you're not.
No. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yeah. No, it's San Diego. Oh, okay. At the end.
I don't have them.
I got them. She got it.
What?
We're talking
Yeah, because that A number doesn't have a, that's just our records.
Yeah.
There's no A number on these.
So that's why I've always left that off. Well, they've always had it on there. No, I like, there's no reason why we can't look that up.
They can put it on the back.
You know what? Well, no, he's not in custody. This is the only in custody.
What about the list I got this morning? Not that one, the other one. This one. This.
He's not in custody.
That's why.
Okay. You got probation on that.
Okay. And it's not the.
You know what? They can do that right there. That way they make sure they got the right one. That may not be the right one unless she's looking on the book.
I am now.
I don't worry about it. I let them get them. I give them as much information as they can.
Yeah.
Must be you. All right, Clark County Circuit Court is back in session.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for your patience. Please be seated. Is there any requests of counsel for the state or defense?
Yes, Judge. For the state, I do have a request for one case. It's an out of custody defendant. It will be a resolution to probation.
Very well. In which matter?
Torres, last name Elizabeth, 21 CF 257.
This is Ms. Torres.
Your Honor. On behalf of Elizabeth Torres. Your Honor, we have worked out a resolution in this case.
And no interpreters needed?
No interpreter needed.
All right, thank you.
So the agreed upon terms will be a withholding of communication, 3 years of probation, and possibility of early termination at the halfway point. You'll pay the cost associated with the case. There's a $100 cost of prosecution, $50 defendant application fee, $100 public defender fee, so $150 for the public defender's office. The cost of investigation will be joint with several of the other individuals who were involved in this case. Do you have that number?
I do. There's one co-defendant who was charged, and the cost of investigation would be joint and severable with 21 CF 252, defendant named Alberto Rodriguez.
And the amount, please?
The amount is $1,667 payable to the Clark County Sheriff's Office.
Okay, and, what count is the count?
That is going to be for count 1. Count 2 would be 1 year of probation with concurrent.
You're withhold?
Yes.
For both are withhold, and you said 1 year?
1 year probation with concurrent terms.
Supervision to be state or county? Any other clarifications?
No, Judge, I believe the state does want to do a brief allocution in this case as well. I'm wondering what it's about and what the questions are going to be asking. We're ready to do that as well.
Mr. Frazier, have any co-defendants resolved their cases?
No, Your Honor, they have not.
So does Ms. Torres understand that there may be different outcomes potentially for other co-defendants?
There are charges different between the two individuals. I believe the other individual is facing a first-degree felony at this point in the case.
And she also understands that as ordered, the investigative cost, she might end up paying the whole amount. It's unknown at
It's
this
a
point.
possibility, but it would be doing federal, so there would be responsibility.
Ms. Torres, do you understand and accept the plea agreement?
I do, Your Honor.
Do you have any questions?
Not at the moment, Your Honor.
Do you believe it's in your best interest to accept this agreement as opposed to disputing the charges?
I do, Your Honor.
Okay, and you understand that the other defendants have not yet resolved their cases, and we don't know how their case is going to turn out.
I do.
So there's a potential, theoretically, that they might go to trial and be found not guilty. You understand?
I do understand.
They could also end up with potentially greater penalties, too.
I do.
Okay, any other questions?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Please raise your right hand and be sworn.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm testimony you give that is truthful, true, and true? I do.
Thank you. And lawyer hand, please answer the state's questions.
Ma'am, could you please state your full name and your date of birth?
Elizabeth Torres,